most of us do not truly live up to our full potential. Instead, we live as a smaller version of ourselves, one that is accustomed to bowing our heads, accustomed to silence, accustomed to complying, and accustomed to asking for permission. We are used to waiting for someone else to validate that we are good enough, worthy enough, and special enough before we dare to step forward. But life has never operated that way. No one ever comes knocking on your door to say, "This is your moment. You were born to lead. You are good enough." No. The majority of people pass away without ever knowing who they could have truly become. And the most painful thing is not failure. It is spending an entire lifetime in a version of yourself that was never awakened. We are living in an era where everyone is in a rush, yet ironically, everyone chooses to wait. What are you waiting for? A morning where you wake up to an email announcing your promotion? A nod of approval from an all-powerful boss granting you permission to execute your dream project? Or a title, a designation, a shiny nameplate placed on your desk so you can confidently tell the world, "Now I am a leader"? We are programmed to believe in a socially constructed illusion that leadership capability is a crown bestowed from the top down and that you must possess power to have a voice. Consequently, you choose to shrink back, passively receiving whatever's assigned, playing your part perfectly like an unthinking cog in a giant machine. You tell yourself, "I am just a low-level employee, let the higher-ups worry about the big picture." But has there ever been a late night while looking at the computer screen reflecting your own exhausted face when you felt a vague sense of insecurity? You have the competence, you have the ideas, you see the outdated system in operation, you see the cracks within the organization, yet you remain silent. The fear of failure and the shadow of a managerial chair that does not yet belong to you have suffocated your inner voice. You are diminishing your own latent potential, turning your life into a series of long, repetitive, tedious, and helpless days. That is a form of silent trauma. You are simultaneously aching because you feel invisible, yet desperately longing to be healed by a breakthrough opportunity. But let me tell you a brutal truth of human existence. The world does not owe you an opportunity, and a title has never turned anyone into a leader. In the gently awakening book on modern leadership architecture, Spark: How to Lead Yourself and Others to Greater Success, the authors, who are military veterans who survived the harshest environments, offered a completely different definition. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is a series of behaviors. They call those who dare to break the mold sparks. These are individuals who realize they do not have to passively accept what is handed down to them. They possess the courage to stand up and say, "We don't need to keep doing things the way we've always done them. We can do them better." They lead through influence, take responsibility, and act to shape the future, regardless of where their position lies. Becoming a spark or accepting to fade away in your comfort zone is entirely a choice of free will. Let us turn back the clock to the story of Sean, one of the book's authors. Shun once made a decision that seemed crazy in the eyes of his family, dropping out of the prestigious engineering program at Yale University to switch to philosophy and join the Air Force. His friends mocked him as they headed toward a wealthy Wall Street, while he chose to crawl through the desert. Yet Sean was happy because he was pursuing his dream of becoming a fighter pilot. After graduating from officer school, Sean went to flight school. The moment he stepped into the cockpit of an F-16 jet, putting on his flight suit and soaring through the sky for 90 minutes with the roar of the engine, was the purest exhilaration of his life. He felt magnificent. He was an Ivy League fighter pilot. But the ground always has a way of pulling us back to reality in the most brutal manner. After landing, the squadron entered the readiness room, on a briefing room where every detail of the flight was dissected on a whiteboard. Here, a cultural paradox unfolded. In a purely hierarchical environment like the military, Sean watched in astonishment as less experienced officers bluntly pointed out their boss's mistakes. Conversely, the senior officers did not get angry at all. They calmly accepted it and asked for more constructive feedback. Everyone shared the responsibility of pointing out poor flight positions to improve the team's performance. Sean sat in silence throughout the entire session, complacent in the dark corner of a newbie who was still learning. When the meeting concluded, the instructing major, a tough, seasoned expert, called him to stay behind. He pointed directly at Sean's face and growled, "Hey, Lieutenant, why didn't you contribute a single word? I didn't hear a thing out of your mouth. You were out there. You witnessed what happened. Why didn't you speak up?" Sean clumsily justified that he was new and did not know much yet. The major interrupted him immediately, like a splash of cold water to his self-esteem. "The Air Force doesn't owe you anything, Lieutenant. Stop apologizing and start contributing. You are new, but you are not stupid. Now get out of here and get a haircut." Sean left the ready room with his face burning with shame. As he sat in his car, that shame morphed into an instinctive rage. The ego of a Yale genius flared up. "Do they even know what I gave up to be here? A wealthy career. Now I am stuck in this ridiculous organization that treats a new member like a speck of dust?" Sean rode his bike for half the day with a tangled mess of emotions, resentment, humiliation, and disappointment. But as his anger subsided, his life philosophies began to speak. He realized the major was right. His silence was not humility, it was selfishness. He was only preoccupied with enjoying the thrill of being in the cockpit while forgetting his responsibility to contribute to the squadron. He had chosen a passive to protect his ego instead of clinging to reality. That was Sean's breakthrough moment, his spark moment. Previously, when facing difficulties, his instinct was simply to work harder along the beaten path, studying more for difficult subjects, training harder for swimming exams. But old ways could not solve new problems. He needed to change how he responded, separating his personal emotions from criticism in order to grow. Do you see yourself in the image of Lieutenant Sean that day? When you receive blunt criticism from a colleague or a superior, what is your first reaction? Bristling like a hedgehog, making excuses, blaming circumstances, or silently harboring resentment? Do you choose to protect your bruised ego, or do you choose to step over it and shine? The psychologist Carl Jung once famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Ironically, most of us are letting old instincts and habits run our lives, only to complain about why we can never break through. To truly become a sparka, leading light, we are forced to decode and step past these psychological illusions that imprison us, first and foremost being the misconception about the chair of power, that leadership must go hand in hand with a title. Many people, despite being excellent at their jobs, always decline to lead a situation due to a passive mindset. "I am not the boss, that is not my job." The core of this issue, according to modern psychology, is the abdication of responsibility based on status boundaries, where we inadvertently equate leadership with the boss's power. This is similar to what Stoic philosophy warns against. Humans are often helpless when trying to cling to things outside their control, such as titles, instead of focusing on their own behaviors and influence. The story of Angie's outstanding pharmaceutical sales representative is a prime example. Despite exceeding her sales quotas, being loved by everyone, and practically operating as an inspiring spark, she still rushed to clarify that she was just a regular colleague because a title-oriented mindset had blinded her. To break through, we need to redefine that a leader is someone who impacts outcomes. You can absolutely be an exceptional leader even without holding a managerial title, so do not wait for anyone to hand you an opportunity. Create it yourself through action. Alongside the barrier of titles, many people are held back by the misconception of the 30% destiny and innate talent. Society often makes us feel insecure if we are not born with a gift for public speaking, a striking appearance, or an extroverted personality, assuming that leadership is an innate privilege reserved for those who were born at the finish line. However, research from the Minnesota Center for Twin and Family Research has proven a scientific truth. Innate factors account for only 30% of leadership ability, and this fixed portion of destiny often leaves us overwhelmed by elite individuals while ignoring the remaining 70%. A true spark will direct all their efforts toward this massive core behavioral qualities that can be fully forged through serious commitment, such as building credibility, taking responsibility in the face of challenges, making right decisions under pressure, and fostering collective connection. Once we understand that leadership is developed rather than innate, we will also know how to control our negative reactive instincts using the turn back the clock metaphor. Normally, when faced with conflict or pressure, the brain triggers a primitive biological mechanism, fight or flight, making us prone to avoidance, overreaction, or bristling to protect our egos instead of utilizing cognitive flexibility to handle the situation. The lesson from Sean's fighter jet training shows that if a pilot reacts on pure instinct during an in-flight emergency, they will panic and endanger their life. Therefore, the mandatory rule is to force the brain to slow down, recalling mental protocols to act intentionally. Next time, instead of flying into a rage or collapsing at bad news, pausing and turning back the clock will allow your disciplined thinking to completely replace detrimental instinctive habits. In parallel with controlling reactions, identifying the dark areas of the Johari window to eliminate credibility-destroying blind spots is also a vital link. You might perceive yourself as an excellent communicator, but in the eyes of your colleagues, you are authoritarian or someone who hides in a closed room. It is this misalignment that causes your influence to vanish. According to the Johari window psychological model, the most dangerous dimension is what you don't know but everyone else knows, your blind spot, which Buddhist philosophy refers to as ignorance when an oversized ego obscures reality. To better understand this process, we can look at the Johari window psychological model in developing a spark, which is divided into 4 core quadrants of awareness. The first quadrant is the open area, also known as the arena. This is where things that both you and everyone around you know well reside. When a spark knows how to share and live transparently in this area, you build solid trust and expand high-quality relationships. The second quadrant is the blind area, meaning your personal blind spots, where things exist that you have no idea about, yet everyone else sees clearly. To eliminate this dangerous blind zone, a spark needs the courage to proactively welcome blunt criticism from others. The third quadrant is called the hidden area or the facade. These are aspects that only you know while no one around you has a clue. Keeping too many secrets and withdrawing into this area will inadvertently cause you to lose opportunities to be understood and to receive support from colleagues. And finally, there is the unknown area, a space containing potential that neither you nor anyone else has ever discovered. The only way to exploit this hidden territory is to constantly throw yourself into new experiences and new challenges. It is the understanding and mastering of these 4 quadrants of awareness that will help a spark position themselves and optimize their influence within the organization. To shatter this blind spot, a spark needs the courage to expand their open area by proactively welcoming criticism, bluntly asking managers or colleagues about areas they need to improve, and then putting aside their pride to gratefully accept that priceless gift. Ultimately, the decisive turning point to perfect a spark is overcoming a fixed mindset, much like Angie's adult MBA battle. When you label yourself as bad at math or too old to learn something new, you are surrendering to Carol Dweck's fixed mindset, which always fears failure and avoids challenges. The story of Angie, a former Marine Corps major who, despite being highly successful, was so terrified of math that she wanted to flee from her MBA studies, presents a profound lesson in awakening. She questioned whether that limitation was a fact or just a belief planted by others, leading her to study resolutely anytime, anywhere, and smash the shackles of prejudice upon graduating 20 months later. Instead of accepting self-imposed anxieties, shifting toward a growth mindset will help you understand that learning only stops when we compromise with ourselves, and that you always possess enough talent to step up to a higher level, provided you dare to commit and take action. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." In the philosophy of a spark, that reason, that North Star, is core values. When you fail to align your behavior with your personal values, instinct will take over and life will drag you in its own direction, leaving you feeling empty, broken, and devoid of influence. People do not believe in what you promise, they only believe in what they observe from your lifestyle. A boss who constantly talks about work-life balance but repeatedly bombards employees with emails over the weekend will never gain credibility because even the smallest inconsistency will create a wall that blocks trust. However, upholding your values is a grueling test against the pressures of time and exhaustion. This was demonstrated by the famous experiment based on the parable of the Good Samaritan, when a group of theology students who were taught about compassion were asked to cross campus to a lecture hall and happened to encounter a slumped man in dire need of help. The results varied shockingly based on time pressure. In the group of students under no time pressure, nearly all of them stopped to help. But in the group that was running late and had to hurry, that number dropped to just 63%. Even more shocking, in the group that was ordered to be in class immediately, a mere 10% offered assistance. Clearly, even those who study morality violate their own principles when pressed for time. It does not stop there. Researchers at Harvard also discovered the morning morality effect. The data on this effect shows a reality of energy erosion over time. In the morning, when energy is fully charged, we reach a level of 100% mental clarity and tend to act more kindly, honestly, and exercise better self-control. However, under the impact of workload and exhaustion, that level of alertness in the afternoon drops to just 50%. When energy is depleted, humans are easily tempted to react on instinct, leading to a 20% to 50% higher rate of lying, cheating, or making flawed decisions. As a spark, you cannot let time and exhaustion dictate your values. Apply 3 self-management tactics wisely. First, slow down and give yourself a break by not eating lunch at your desk. Instead, step outside to breathe fresh air and recharge. Second, prioritize your morning by scheduling critical meetings and high-stress decisions early in the day, the time when your alertness is at its peak. Lastly, create visual reminders by printing out your top 5 core values and pasting them right next to your computer screen. That will be the compass reminding you to maintain your integrity even in the darkest, most high-pressure moments. The wars have receded, but the military acronym VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, has now become an accurate mirror reflecting the professional environment of the 21st century. Our world will not slow down. Gone are the days when an all-powerful commanding boss standing at the top of a hierarchical pyramid could steer the entire ship. Modern organizations need to decentralize decision-making power. They need leaders at all levels. They need sparks. You can continue to choose to bow your head, accepting to be an invisible speck of dust in the machine, submitting to overwhelming challenges and repeating old methods while expecting a different result. Or you can choose to courageously stand up, train the 70% of your self-determined capability, challenge your instincts, eliminate your blind spots, and turn yourself into a spark. Your internal growth only truly begins when you have the courage to step forward. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in the face of it. Becoming a spark will cost you a piece of the freedom of laziness, forcing you to maintain demanding new habits. But its reward is a future version of yourself that makes you proud, a life flowing with positive energy, and an impact that can transform an entire organization. Imagine a freezing winter night when everything is submerged in the darkness of stagnation. A single match is struck. It is tiny, it is solitary, but it is a spark. It does not wait for the sun. It lights up the space around itself, then passes the flame to other matches, creating a brilliant warm blaze. Will you be the match that burns proud by itself, or the wet firewood waiting for the day it rots away? The decision is yours. It is time to ignite your own spark. This video was created for the purpose of summarizing, sharing perspectives, and reflecting. The content falls within the scope of fair use for educational, analytical, and knowledge-sharing purposes, without verbatim copying or replacing the original work. Audiences are encouraged to purchase the physical book to support the authors and the work. All copyrights to the original content belong to the author, publisher, and distributing entity. Thank you for watching the video. See you again in the next journeys.